Hello, I'm Zelda Smits for the Finance News Network, and joining me from metals developer Wolf Minerals is its Managing Director and CEO, Russell Clark. Russell, welcome back to FNN.
Thanks, Zelda. It's great to be back.
When we last spoke at the end of 2013, you detailed your Hemerdon tungsten and tin project in the UK. What has occurred since?
So we've achieved a lot, Zelda. The environmental permit was granted in early December, the first of its type in England ever. We finished purchasing properties that were a condition precedent to us actually starting to build this project. We've signed the lease with the landowners, and just recently we've announced that GR Engineering will start construction of the project.
Wolf has just started construction at Hemerdon, as you mentioned. What has to occur at the project for it to be production ready?
So we plan to be production ready by the early next year. We've already started clearing the site of trees and bushes and old stone walls. We'll start earthworks very shortly, then the concrete, then the steel, and we should be in a position where the plant can start to be commissioned at the end of this year and then bring it into production in the middle of next year.
And what do you expect will be the next milestone for Hemerdon?
So we have to get the EPC contractor onto site to start building the project, and shortly after that the mining contractor, Blackwells, will start mining the pit in March.
Recapping the resource, what is the size of the project, and could you put it into perspective for us relative to other tungsten resources?
This is the third largest global resource of tungsten, over 400 million tonnes of resource. We have 117 million tonnes of measured and indicated resource, and that converts into 26 million tonnes of reserves, which is sufficient for around 10 years of production. We do see a great opportunity to extend that by 3 or 4 years, so another 30 or 40% of reserves on top of what we already have.
And as the next phase of development ramps up, what are the anticipated capital costs?
We've recently reviewed the capital cost at £123 million. In addition to that, we've got some finance facilities which will add up to about £25 million. The project has senior debt. We have £75 million of debt in place with ING, UniCredit and Caterpillar Finance. And for the time being, we're using a bridging finance loan from Resource Capital Funds for $75 million, which has enabled us to start the construction of this project.
When we last spoke, you mentioned Wolf's funding package is broadly in place. How do you plan to cover the current construction costs?
So the current construction costs are being managed through this bridging finance that we have. That will need to be replaced by June of this year. And then we can access the senior debt, which will then complete the construction of the project.
And Russell, with regard to potential customers, where have you sought off-taker support?
So part of the debt funding structure that we've got required us to have off-takers, and we've secured 2 off-takers, one in the States, Global Tungsten and Powders, and one in Austria, Wolfram Bergbau and Hütten, who will take 80% of our tungsten production for 5 years.
Finally, Russell, as the project goes towards production next year, what trends have you noted in the tungsten market?
So an independent review by Tungsten Market Research has suggested that the demand for tungsten is going to increase at about 4,000 to 5,000 tonnes a year. That's the equivalent of one of these projects, the Hemerdon Project, every year coming on stream. And they're just not there. So the prediction is that demand will outstrip supply in the next 3 or 4 years, with the result that the price of tungsten is forecast to rise reasonably significantly.
So when do you expect this high price environment to peak, and what is your long-term outlook for tungsten?
The demand for tungsten gets driven by global growth. There aren't a lot of projects in the pipeline, and we see the price peaking at about the time this project comes online. So perfect. Going forward, growth in the world will require more tungsten. It's not substitutable, and as a result of that, we see the opportunity to perhaps expand this project whilst prices remain high.
Russell Clark, thank you for the update on Wolf Minerals and outlook on tungsten.
Thanks, Zelda.